60 seconds of silence. That was how the final examination began. Professor spoke. No instructions appeared. The 3,000 cadets sitting in the massive hall simply watched as holographic images floated above them. Pictures of human history. Wars, floods, fires, cities burning, people running, then people rebuilding, then fighting again. Admiral Garath stood at the observation window above the hall. His scales were dark green, almost black, and his yellow eyes missed nothing. He had commanded fleets. He had burned worlds. But today, he was simply a teacher watching his students take a test. The images stopped. A single question appeared in glowing letters above the cadets. Based on all available intelligence, identify humanity's primary strategic vulnerability. The sound of fingers on screens filled the hall immediately. 3,000 cadets from over 60 species began writing their answers. They had studied humans for years. They knew the weaknesses. Everyone knew the weaknesses. Instructor Palax stood beside Garath. She was Ven, an insectoid species with 4 arms and compound eyes that could see in all directions at once. Unlike Garath, she had fought alongside humans in the border wars. She had watched them do impossible things. They are confident, Palax observed. They should be, Garath replied. Humanity is not difficult to understand. They are young, emotional, predictable. Palax said nothing. Her silence was an opinion that in the third row of the examination hall. A young human woman sat perfectly still. Her name was Nora Webb. She was 22 years old, and she had not touched her screen. Around her, cadets wrote furiously. A large Draken named Thuric finished his answer in under 5 minutes. He leaned back in his seat, satisfied. His scales were bright red, marking him as highborn. His uncle was Admiral Garath himself. Thuric glanced at Nora. The human had not moved. Her screen was blank, pathetic, he thought. Humans could not even face questions about their own weakness. 2 rows ahead. Another human was writing quickly. Ren Halford was everything Nora was not. Loud, confident, popular. He was the kind of human that aliens expected. Big smile, strong handshake, emotions right on the surface. Ren finished his answer and looked around proudly. He caught Thuric's eye and nodded. They were not friends, but they respected each other. Warriors recognized warriors. Neither of them looked at Nora in the observation room. Data streams appeared before Garath and Palax. The answers were being categorized as they came in. Emotional attachment, Garath read. That is the most common answer. 63% of cadets believe humans can be defeated through their bonds to each other. A reasonable assessment, Palax said carefully. Biological fragility is second. 18%. Garath nodded. Humans require very specific conditions to survive. Temperature, pressure, atmosphere. They are delicate creatures, and yet they survive everywhere, Palax said. Garath ignored her. Short lifespan, 9%. Humans live less than a century on average. They make rush decisions. The data continued flowing. Pack bonding instinct, inability to sacrifice individuals for collective good, emotional decision-making in crisis situations, all the expected answers, all the correct answers. Then the system flagged an anomaly. What is this? Garath leaned forward. 1 answer did not fit any category. The system could not classify it because it was not answering the question that had been asked. Garath pulled up the response. It came from seat 347, third row. Cadet Nora Webb. He began reading in the examination hall. Nora finally stopped writing. She had taken 45 minutes to complete her answer. Around her, most cadets were done. Some were sleeping. Thuric was playing a game on his personal device, certain of his success. Ren noticed Nora finishing and felt a moment of concern. She was so quiet, so strange. He had tried to befriend her during their first year, but she never seemed interested in connection. She watched. She listened. She almost never spoke. He wondered what weakness she had named in the observation room. Garath had stopped breathing. Palax noticed. Admiral, read this, Garath said. Palax moved closer to the screen. Her compound eyes processed the text quickly. The answer began, You have asked the wrong question. I will answer the right one. It was not an identification of human weakness. It was not a tactical analysis. It was not anything the examination had requested. IT was a warning. Parallax read further. Her forearms went still, which was the Venn equivalent of shock. This is not possible, she whispered. A cadet could not know this. And yet she does. Garath said, in the examination hall. The timer counted down its final seconds. Cadets began standing, stretching, talking to each other about their answers. The tension of the test was over. Nora remained seated. Her screen was dark now. Her answer was submitted. She stared straight ahead at nothing. Thurrock walked past a row, deliberately bumping her chair. Did you manage to write anything human? Or did you just cry about your feelings? Nora did not respond. She did not even look at him. Thurrock laughed and walked away. Weak, he thought. Just like all humans that in the observation room, Garath made a decision. Bring her to me, he said. Now, Parallax asked. The examination is not officially concluded. I do not care about the examination anymore. Garath's yellow eyes were fixed on Nora's answer, still glowing on his screen. I care about what this human knows, and how she knows it. The final section of Nora's answer had a title. Garath read it again, feeling something he had not felt in decades. Fear. The title was simple. What happens when you threaten what a human loves? Garath had spent 40 years studying humanity. He had believed he understood them, that he was beginning to realize he understood nothing at all. The wall of data told a simple story. 3,000 cadets had answered the question. 3,000 cadets had agreed on what made humanity weak. Admiral Garath scrolled through the responses while Instructor Parallax watched in silence. The observation room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines processing the examination results. Cadet Thurrock, Garath said, pulling up his nephew's answer. Humans form attachments to non-human species and objects, creating unlimited vulnerability points. Target their pets, their plants, their machines. They will sacrifice strategic advantage to protect meaningless things. A thorough answer, Parallax offered. Yes. Garath allowed himself a moment of pride. His nephew understood war. He understood that emotion was weakness, that he pulled up another answer. Cadet Ren Halford. Human. Humans will abandon strategic positions to rescue even a single comrade. Create scenarios where rescue attempts are costly. Humans will pay any price to save one of their own. Garath found this answer interesting. A human admitting human weakness. It showed maturity, self-awareness. The human male understands his species, Garath said. Or he understands what we expect to hear. Parallax replied. Garath looked at her sharply. What do you mean? Nothing, Admiral. Please continue. The data continued its flow. Answer after answer fell into neat categories. Emotional attachment, biological fragility, short lifespan, pack bonding instinct, all correct, all obvious, all useless. That last thought surprised Garath. Where had it come from? He returned to the anomaly. Seat 347. Cadet Nora Webb. Her answer filled the screen. It was longer than most, more detailed, and it began with an insult to the examination itself. You have asked the wrong question. I will answer the right one. Garath read further. You want to know humanity's weakness. Every answer you will receive today will be correct. We are emotional. We form attachments. We are biologically fragile. We live short lives. We make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. All of this is true. She admits it freely, Garath muttered. Keep reading, Parallax said. Her voice was strange, quiet. But you have made a mistake in your question. You assume these weaknesses can be exploited. You assume that because we are emotional, we can be manipulated. You assume that because we form attachments, those attachments can be used against us. Garath felt the first hint of unease. This assumption will kill you. The words sat on the screen like a blade. Our weakness is our strength. You cannot separate them. You cannot exploit one without triggering the other. When you threaten what a human loves, you do not create a vulnerability. You create a monster. Parallax spoke softly. She is right. Garath did not respond. He was reading. Consider your own histories. How many species have attacked humanity? How many of those species still exist in their original form? The Ven attacked human colonies in the border wars. 300 human civilians died. Within 1 year, human fleets had burned 17 Ven worlds. The Ven sued for peace. They are now humanity's closest allies. This is not relevant, Garath said, but his voice was uncertain. The Kroth Empire enslaved human prisoners for 12 years. When humanity finally reached Kroth space, they did not stop at rescue. They did not stop at justice. They did not stop until the Kroth homeworld was dust. The Kroth species still exists, but they will never threaten anyone again. Palax placed one of her 4 hands on the console. I remember the border wars, Admiral. I was there. The humans we fought were not soldiers. They were farmers, teachers, scientists. They became soldiers because we gave them no choice. Garath kept reading. You believe our emotional attachments make us weak. You are wrong. Our emotional attachments make us willing to do things no logical species would consider. We do not calculate acceptable losses. We do not weigh costs and benefits. When we are protecting something we love, there is no line we will not cross. No weapon we will not build. No price we will not pay. The next section was titled Escalation Patterns. It contained mathematics, formulas, predictions, a model of human behavior in conflict situations. Garath ran the model against historical data. The accuracy was disturbing. This cadet, he said slowly, has predicted human military responses more accurately than our entire intelligence division. She is human, Palax said. She knows her own kind. No, Garath shook his head. Halford is human. He wrote what we expected. This is different. This is someone who has watched her species from the outside while living inside it. He scrolled to the final section, the one that had made him stop breathing. What happens when you threaten what a human loves? The section began simply. Nothing. At first, humans are patient when they need to be. They will smile. They will negotiate. They will sign treaties and shake hands and pretend to forgive. But they never forget. And while they are smiling, they are building weapons, ships, armies, plans. Humans do not fight angry. They wait until they are ready. Then they fight cold. Cold War is human war. It can last decades, generations. Humans teach their children to hate what they hate. The enemy that threatened grandmother will be destroyed by grandchildren who never met her. The final paragraph was not analysis. It was a question. You have asked me to identify humanity's weakness. I have told you that our weakness is our strength. Now I have a question for you, Admiral Garath. Garath felt ice in his blood. She knew who would read this. She had written it for him specifically. Now that you understand this, do you still want to find her weakness? Or do you finally understand why you should never threaten what humans love? The screen went dark. Garath and Palax stood in silence for a long moment. Bring her here, Garath finally said. I need to understand who this human really is. She was 7 years old when she learned what humans become when they have nothing left to lose. The colony ship had been called Hope's Landing. 3,000 families traveling to a new world. A new start. Nora's parents had saved for 15 years to afford the passage. The pirates came on the 4th month of the journey. They were not interested in cargo. They were not interested in ransom. They wanted the ship itself, and the humans on board were simply in the way. Nora remembered hiding in a maintenance closet. She remembered hearing her mother's screams. She remembered her father's voice telling her to stay quiet, stay hidden, no matter what she heard. Then her father's voice stopped. She stayed in that closet for 2 days. When rescue ships finally arrived, they found a 7-year-old girl who had not eaten or slept or made a single sound in 48 hours. The rescue teams were mostly human, but there were Ven among them too, and a few Draken observers. They expected to find a broken child. They expected tears, trauma, collapse. Nora walked out of that closet on her own feet. Her face was blank. Her eyes were dry. She looked at the Ven medic who approached her and asked one question. Did you kill them? The ones who did this? The medic did not know how to answer. Because if you did not, Nora continued, someone needs to. She was 7 years old. The refugee camps came next. 5 years moving from station to station, world to world. Nora had no family left. She had nowhere to go. But she was not alone. Humans have a strange habit. When they find an orphan, they do not leave her behind. Even when resources are scarce. Even when there is not enough food. Even when taking on another mouth to feed might mean death. Nora was passed from family to family, camp to camp. She watched everything. She learned everything. She saw humans share their last meal with strangers. She saw humans carry alien children through burning wreckage. She saw humans stand guard over people they had just met, ready to die for beings whose names they did not know. She also saw what happened when those humans were pushed too far. There was a man in one of the camps. A quiet man. Kind. He played with the children and helped the elderly. He had lost his wife in a pirate raid similar to the one that killed Nora's parents' point one day. News came that the pirates who had killed his wife were operating in a nearby system. The quiet man disappeared that night. He took nothing but a knife. 3 weeks later, he returned. His clothes were covered in blood that was not his own. He went back to playing with children and helping the elderly. No one ever asked what he had done. Nora understood. She had been the same age when she asked if someone had killed the ones who took her parents. She understood that humans carry their grief like a weapon. They bury it deep. They smile and laugh and live. But the grief is always there, waiting for a target. This was the truth that aliens never understood. They saw human emotion as weakness. They saw human attachment as vulnerability. They did not see what lived underneath. In the observation room, Garath finished reading the background file on Cadet Nora Webb. Survivor of the Hope's Landing Massacre, he said. Orphaned at 7. Raised in refugee camps across 3 systems. No permanent home until she enlisted in the academy at 18. A remarkable story of survival, Palak said. A story that explains nothing. Garath shook his head. Thousands of humans experience trauma. They do not all become this. He gestured at Nora's exam answer, still glowing on the screen. She watched, Palak said. What? She watched for years. Humans. Aliens. Everyone around her. She was a child who lost everything. So she paid attention to the only thing she had left. People. Palax moved closer to the screen. She learned to see patterns that we miss because we were too busy living our own lives. Garath considered this. You believe she understands humanity better than humans do? I believe she understands what humans become, not what they are in peace, what they become in war. Palax turned to face Garath directly. Admiral, I fought humans in the border wars. They were terrifying, not because they were strong, not because they were skilled. They were terrifying because they would not stop. You could kill 10 of them, and the 11th would climb over the bodies of his friends to reach you. They did not fight like soldiers. They fought like animals protecting their young. Garath was silent for a moment, and after the war ended, they became our allies, our friends. They helped us rebuild the worlds they had burned. Palix's voice dropped. Humans do not hold grudges against species. They hold grudges against actions. Stop threatening what they love, and they will love you back. The door to the observation room opened. A security officer entered with Nora Webb behind him. She was small, thin, unremarkable. Her brown hair was tied back simply. Her uniform was clean but worn. She stopped in the center of the room and waited. Garath studied her for a long moment. This was the human who had seen through the examination. This was the quiet girl from the 3rd row. Her eyes met his. They were not afraid. They were not angry. They were simply watching. Waiting. Cadet Webb, Garath began. Your examination answer was unusual. Yes, Admiral. Some might say it was insubordinate. Yes, Admiral. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Nora considered the question. When she spoke, her voice was calm. I answered the question you should have asked. Whether that is insubordination depends on whether you wanted truth or obedience. Garath felt something shift in the room. The balance of power had just moved, and he was no longer certain who held it. More instructors began arriving at the observation room. Word had spread. Something unusual was happening with the final examination. Nora stood in the center of the growing crowd, untouched by the attention. She might have been standing alone in an empty field for all the reaction she showed. Admiral Garath had pulled her examination answer onto the main display. A dozen senior officers were reading it now. The room had grown very quiet. "This model," said a Draken general named Vask, pointing at the mathematical section. "Where did you learn this?" "I created it," Nora said. "Impossible. This level of predictive accuracy requires decades of research. It requires paying attention." Nora's voice remained flat. "I have been paying attention my whole life." Instructor Palax stepped forward. "The model is accurate. I tested it against historical data. Her predictions match human behavior in 17 major conflicts with a 94% accuracy rate." The room went silent again. Garath spoke carefully. "Cadet Webb, your answer suggests that humanity cannot be defeated through conventional means." "That is not what I wrote, Admiral." "Then explain." Nora took a breath. It was the first sign of emotion she had shown. "Humanity can be defeated. Any species can be defeated. But the cost of defeating humanity is higher than most species are willing to pay." She paused. "And the cost increases the longer the conflict continues." "Explain," Garath repeated. "Humans at peace are gentle, creative. We build things. We help others. We form bonds with species that tried to kill us years before." Nora looked at Palax. "The Ven burned human colonies. Now Ven children play with human children. This is not weakness. This is our nature." She turned back to Garath. "But humans at war are different. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And we do not stop." Her voice dropped. "You can kill a human army. You can burn a human world. You can destroy everything a human loves. But as long as one human survives, you have failed." General Vask laughed. "One human? Against an empire?" "One human built the bomb that ended the Kroth Empire," Nora replied. "Her name was Dr. Yuki Sato. The Kroth killed her son. She spent 15 years building a weapon that could crack a planet. She tested it on Kroth Prime." The laughter stopped. "Humans do not surrender," Nora continued. "We adapt. When we are outgunned, we build better guns. When we are outnumbered, we build machines to fight for us. When we cannot win with strength, we win with time. We teach our children to finish what we started." Garath felt a chill despite the warmth of the room. "You said there is a way to defeat humanity," he said. "What is it?" Nora met his eyes. "I said in my answer, total destruction. Every human, every colony, every ship, every child, all at once, before we know you are coming." She paused. "Miss even one, and that one will find a way to hurt you. Maybe not today, maybe not for years, but eventually." "You are describing genocide," Palax said quietly. "I am describing the only strategy that would work." Nora's face remained blank. "I'm not recommending it. I'm explaining it. There is a difference." Garath leaned forward. "Then what do you recommend?" For the first time, something flickered in Nora's eyes. Something almost warm. "Peace." The word hung in the air. "Real peace," she continued. "Not treaties, not agreements. Understanding. Learn what humans protect and do not threaten it. Learn what humans love and show respect for it. We are the easiest species in the galaxy to befriend and the most dangerous species in the galaxy to fight. The choice is simple." "You make it sound simple," Vask growled. "But humans start wars too." "We do," Nora agreed. "When we believe we are protecting something. When we believe we are defending the weak. When we see injustice and cannot look away." She paused. "We are not perfect. We are emotional. We make mistakes. But our worst violence comes when we believe we are righteous." Palax spoke softly. "And that is the most dangerous human of all. The one who believes they are doing good." "Yes." Nora nodded slowly. "A human who fights for survival is dangerous. A human who fights for revenge is more dangerous. But a human who fights because they believe it is right, the human will tear the galaxy apart and call it justice." The room was completely silent now. Garath realized that every officer present was looking at him, waiting for him to respond, waiting for him to dismiss this strange human cadet and return to normal, but he could not do it. "You have studied us," he said to Nora, "but you are one of us. Why give your enemies this information?" "You are not my enemy, Admiral." Nora's voice was gentle now. "You are my classmate's uncle. You are Palax's colleague. You are a teacher trying to prepare young officers for a dangerous galaxy. She took a step forward. I did not write that answer to threaten you. I wrote it to protect you. Because if you send students into the galaxy believing humans can be easily defeated, those students will die. They will provoke a war they cannot win. And millions of people, human and alien, will pay the price. Garath stared at her. You wrote a warning, he said slowly. Not an exam answer. A warning. Yes, Admiral. Nora's eyes never wavered. Now that you have heard it, what will you do? The question echoed in the silent room. Garath had no answer. The door to the observation room slid open again. Thurok walked in, his red scales bright under the lights. Someone had summoned him. He did not know why. He stopped when he saw the crowd of senior officers. His eyes found Nora standing in the center of the room. What is happening? He looked at his uncle. Why is she here? Garath gestured at the main display. Read. Thurok read. His expression changed several times. Confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally, something that might have been fear. This is insane, he said when he finished. She is trying to scare us. Is she wrong? Palax asked. Of course she is wrong. Humans are emotional creatures. They could be manipulated, controlled. Thurok turned to face Nora directly. Your species survives because we allow it. Nora said nothing. Answer me, human. Still nothing. Thurok stepped closer. I asked you a question. You made a statement. Nora replied calmly. Statements do not require responses. You think you're clever. Thurok's voice rose. You think this little speech of yours changes anything? The Draken Empire could crush humanity in a week. Nora tilted her head slightly. The Kroth thought the same thing. The room went very still. The Thurok's scales darkened with anger. The Kroth were weak. We are not. The Kroth had an empire of 200 worlds. They had weapons that could burn stars. They had armies numbered in the billions. Nora's voice remained level. They made one mistake. They hurt a human mother's child. That mother destroyed their home world. One weapon. One time. A lucky strike. After the Kroth fell, humans shared that weapon with the Galactic Council. It now sits in 17 different arsenals across known space. Nora paused. Humanity created planet-killing technology because one mother was angry enough to invent it. Imagine what we could create if we were truly desperate. Thurok looked at his uncle for support. Garath's face was unreadable. This is madness, Thurok said. You are one human. A refugee. An orphan. You have no power. I have exactly as much power as any human. Nora took a step toward him. It was the first time she had moved since entering the room. That is what you do not understand. We are all dangerous. Not because we are strong. Not because we are smart. Because we love things, and we will do anything to protect what we love. She stopped an arm's length from Thurok. He was twice her size. His claws could tear through metal. You could kill me right now, she said quietly. I cannot stop you. But you will not. Why not? Because you were smart enough to see what my death would cost. Nora's eyes never left his. Every human at this academy would know. Every human in this system would know. And they would remember. You would spend the rest of your life waiting for the revenge that was coming for you. Thurok's claws twitched. You are threatening me. I am educating you. Nora stepped back. The same way I tried to educate everyone who took that exam today. Humanity is not your enemy. We do not want to be your enemy. But if you make us your enemy, you will not survive the experience. General Vask spoke up. Enough. This has gone too far. Cadet Webb, you have failed the examination. Your answer did not address the question asked. Nora turned to face him. Then give me a 0, General. My answer was still correct. Correct. Vask's voice dripped with contempt. You answered nothing. You provided no tactical analysis. No estrategic recomendations. Just threats and philosophy. I provided the only tactical recommendation that matters. Nora's voice finally carried heat. Do not fight humans unless you are willing to lose everything. That is the only strategy that saves lives. Palax raised one of her 4 hands. If I may. Vask glared but nodded. I have reviewed every answer submitted today. 3,000 cadets identified human weaknesses. 3,000 tactical analyses were provided. Palax moved to the main display. I then ran each strategy through historical simulations. Data began flowing across the screen. Battle simulations, outcome projections, casualty estimates. Every strategy failed. Parallax continued. Every single one. The tactics worked in short term. Battles were won. Objectives were achieved. But the long-term projections showed the same result. She paused. Human escalation. Human adaptation. Human revenge. She turned to face the room. Within 10 years of any simulated conflict, human forces exceeded the strength of the initial aggressor. Within 20 years, the aggressor species faced extinction-level threats. The numbers hung on the screen. Undeniable. Mathematical. Cold. The only simulation that did not end in disaster, Parallax finished, was the one where the conflict never began. The only winning strategy against humanity is to never make them your enemy. She looked at Nora, which is exactly what Cadet Webb wrote in her examination. The room was silent. Garath spoke at last. His voice was heavy. Cadet Webb, you have made your point. Return to your quarters. We will discuss your results later. Nora nodded. She turned toward the door, passing Thurrock without a glance. I could see the door. She stopped. Admiral. Yes, Cadet. You asked why I shared this with you. Why I help people who might be my enemies. She turned her head slightly. It is because I do not want enemies. I want allies. I want peace. She walked out. Thurrock watched her go. His claws had stopped twitching. His scales had gone pale. Uncle, he said quietly, I think I answered the exam wrong. Garath did not respond. He was staring at the data on the screen, watching simulated empires fall, one after another, to an enemy that refused to stop fighting. 1 week later, the graduation ceremony filled the Great Hall with color and sound. Banners from 60 species hung from the ceiling. Music played from a dozen different traditions, mixed together into something new. Nora sat in her usual spot. Third row, silent. The cadets around her were nervous and excited. Today they would receive their rankings. Today they would learn where they would serve, what ships they would join, what futures awaited them. Ren Halford sat 2 rows ahead, laughing with friends. He had not spoken to Nora since the examination. He did not know what to say to the girl who had apparently terrified the entire senior staff. Thurrock sat at the far end of the hall, away from his usual group of admirers. His scales had not regained their bright red color. He spent most of his time studying now, reading human history, trying to understand what he had missed. Admiral Garath took the stage. Today marks the end of your training, he began, and the beginning of your service. You have learned tactics, strategy, history. You have studied species from across the galaxy, including the newest members of our community. He paused. This year's examination was unusual. One cadet provided an answer that did not fit our expectations. Some of my colleagues believe this answer should be marked as a failure. I disagreed. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cadet Nora Webb, please stand. Nora stood. 3,000 faces turned toward her. Cadet Webb received the highest score in the history of this academy. The murmurs became gasps. Her answer was not what we asked for. It was what we needed to hear. Garatha's voice carried across the hall. She taught us that the question itself was flawed. She reminded us that understanding a species means more than identifying weaknesses. It means understanding what makes them strong. He gestured, and Nora's examination answer appeared on the great display behind him. Beginning next year, this academy will no longer ask cadets how to defeat humanity. Instead, we will ask how to maintain peace with humanity, how to build alliances, how to avoid the mistakes of the Croth and others who learn too late what humans become when threatened. Nora remained standing. Her face showed nothing. Cadet Webb has been offered a position as tactical consultant to the Galactic Council. She has accepted. Now the gasps became applause. Scattered at first, then growing. Species that had spent years studying human weakness were clapping for the human who had explained their own blindness. Nora sat down. After the ceremony, Ren found her in the corridor. How did you do it? He asked. How did you see what nobody else saw? Nora looked at him for a long moment. I listen. I listen too. No, you talk. Everyone talks. They talk about humans. They talk about weakness. They talk about strength. Nora shook her head. Nobody listens. Nobody asks what we feel. Nobody asks why we do what we do. Ren considered this. And what do we feel? Love. The word was simple. We love things, people, places, ideas. We love so hard that it changes us, makes us capable of anything. She paused. The aliens see that as weakness. They do not understand that love is the source of all human power. Ren nodded slowly. The ones we protect, the bonds we form. Yes. Nora almost smiled. We're the most dangerous species in the galaxy because we care about things outside ourselves. A draken fights for honor. A Ven fights for the hive. But a human? A human fights for their child, their partner, their friend, their pet, their favorite tree in the backyard. She started walking. Ren fell in a step beside her. They thought that made us weak, he said. It makes us unpredictable, irrational, impossible to model. Nora glanced at him. Until today. What changed? They started listening. 10 years passed. Nora Webb sat in the Galactic Council chamber as alarms rang throughout the station. An unknown fleet had attacked a human colony in the outer systems. 50,000 civilians were dead or missing. The council representatives were in chaos. Species were arguing, blaming, preparing to flee to their home systems and wait for the storm to pass. Then Admiral Garath stood. He was old now. His scales had faded to gray, but his voice was still strong. Enough. The chamber went silent. 10 years ago, a human taught me something important. She taught me that humans do not fight alone, because those who understand humans will stand beside them. He looked around the chamber. I understand humans now. We all do, and I will not watch from safety while their colonies burn. He turned to the Ven ambassador. Palax, your people fought alongside humans before. Palax stood. We will do so again. One by one, representatives rose. The Draken, the Ven, a dozen other species who had spent a decade studying human history, learning human ways, understanding what made humanity both terrifying and wonderful. We move as one, Garath declared. We protect them as they would protect us. Nora watched from her seat. A colleague leaned over to her. Are you worried? Nora shook her head. Why not? She watched the Allied fleet mobilize on the tactical display. Dozens of species, thousands of ships, all moving to protect a human colony because they finally understood what that protection meant. I taught them well, she said. Outside the station, ships began jumping to faster than light. A galaxy that had once asked how to defeat humanity was now racing to defend it. In the council chamber, the quiet girl who had answered the wrong question watched her life's work finally bear fruit. Humanity would not fight alone. Not anymore. Not ever again. Because the galaxy had learned its lesson. You do not threaten what humans love. You stand beside them and love it too. That was how you won.